Welcome everyone, Stoutly Sharon here, and I wanted to talk about my latest gaming addiction, Elden Ring. For those who somehow don't know, Elden Ring is the latest game from Software, who are known for making punishingly difficult games such as Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. However, I'm coming to this game as a relatively new player to their lineup. I have played about a third of Sekiro, but never finished it, and the very beginning of the original Dark Souls. I never felt like I really gave one of their games any real investment to really sink my teeth into it. So far, I've put about 40 hours into Elden Ring across 3 different playthroughs, one by myself and the other 2 as co-op campaigns. I'd like to make a review for Elden Ring in the future, but I don't foresee that coming out anytime soon, as I like to fully complete a game before making a review. So, in lieu of that, I wanted to give my first impressions. At first glance, the graphics aren't the most amazing compared to other recent titles. Ray tracing isn't a thing here, yet. Apparently that is planned for a future update. But it's by no means an ugly game. I'm someone who likes high-fidelity graphics, but always tend to run a mid-range PC, so for reference my graphics card is a NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2060. Even still, I thought there were plenty of gorgeous vistas and screenshot-worthy sights. I love the creativity in the architecture and the creatures, and the absolute scale of some of the buildings, especially Stormvale Castle, is great. The sound design is excellent here as well, which definitely is necessary for a game like this. Using sounds to determine if enemies are nearby, or using them as a tell right before an attack is crucial, not to mention it adds to the effect. I can't say the music is that memorable to me, but that's because it's much more ambient and complements the game rather than standing out on its own. To anyone who knows anything about FromSoft games, their stories tend to be very vague. Here you're playing as a Tarnished who traveled to the lands between to seek the Elden Ring to become an Elden Lord. That made a whole lot of sense, right? But yeah, that's the premise though. Presumably, players will understand what that exactly means as they delve further into the game. Early on, players will meet Melina, who will offer a deal to act as the player's maiden so that she can enhance their power if they promise to take her to the Erd Tree, the giant bright tree always in the distance. At various sites of grace, places where you could recover, she'll pop in and have some more things to say. Everything here is subtle, and there never seems to be much in the way of anything overt. Or at least, nothing overt that immediately makes sense. I think lore enthusiasts who like to piece bits together to get a full picture will probably enjoy this style of storytelling. Luckily, the story isn't really why I picked up Elden Ring, but more for the exploration of an interesting world and good gameplay. And so far, I felt that Elden Ring has delivered on these aspects. The world is an absolute delight to trek through and discover its secrets and points of interest. Many have made this comparison before, but it really is reminiscent of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The world is large, and there are no waypoints or much of anything driving you to go to a particular place. In contrast to Breath of the Wild, I felt there were plenty of things to see here rather than large open tracts of land with not much in between. I was constantly coming across things like a new tomb, cave, military encampment, or random boss encounters in the world. And all this is available relatively early on after a brief tutorial. The world pulls at the player to explore it from all different angles, which seemingly feels like there's never a loss for things to do. This is an especially good thing when I found myself hitting a wall in the form of an almost impossible boss.
These foolish ambitions to rest. Put these foolish ambitions to rest. Put these foolish ambitions to rest.
Ugh, I still have nightmares. But this is definitely an intended design choice. It forces players to go out and explore, level up, gain new weapons, and better understanding of game mechanics before tackling the challenge once again. I feel like the open world and the mini-dungeons are a way to detox from the game while still playing the game. It's excellent game design and has allowed me to get over the crushing difficulty curves the game will throw at me. I think the biggest issues I have with the game as of now is that the control scheme for PC is not the greatest. I'd recommend playing Elden Ring with a controller if you have one, although I have gotten used to mouse and keyboard. However, the bigger issue for me is their wonky multiplayer setup. Playing co-op with people isn't impossible, but FromSoft doesn't make it easy by needing to use two in-game items to join one another, rather than just clicking a Join Game button like literally every other game. And to add insult to injury, almost literally, if the host or invitee dies, then the player joining gets kicked back to their own game to redo the process all over again. It's counterintuitive, and if FromSoft wants to advertise co-op as a feature of their game in the future, then I think there should be some changes in this department. It's a far cry from the relatively painless process in games like Remnant from the Ashes, the only Souls-like game I've devoted any considerable amount of time to before Elden Ring. As I stated, I put about 40 hours into the game so far, and I don't see any sign of stopping. I'm still largely exploring the beginning area with more of the map to uncover, and I'm only on the second main story boss. Add in the co-op campaigns that I'm running concurrent to my solo playthrough, and that's an insane amount of time spent. However, if you plan on just playing through the game by yourself, then I think my time is more around 20 hours with my solo playthrough. Again, I still have so much left in the game that I think I could easily put 50 hours into the game. Probably a lot more if howlongtobeat.com is any indication. If this is something you're on the fence about, then I'd say grab it if you have the money for full price. It's definitely worth it. While From Software have made obvious successes before in the past, I think they struck gold with Elden Ring. It's a game that can still bring brutal difficulty and death after death, but still allow players some breathing room and time to take everything all in. These are my thoughts so far. Bottom line, it's a fun game. Have any of you been playing Elden Ring? What are your thoughts been with the game? Also, if you've beaten Margit yet, how did you do it? I hope this helped you in some small way, and if it did, then please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, or whatever it is you feel like doing. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.